My name is Annalise Christine. Welcome to my channel if you are new. Welcome back if you've seen one of my videos before. Today we're going to be doing my weekly reads episode 12 starting on March 24th. It is actually March 24th today and I'm going to try a little bit different format. We're going to go over the 6 books I currently have going and I'll explain why I have so many books going. It'll make sense in a moment. And then I'm going to try and give you updates each morning maybe of the progress or just in a vlog style to update you each time. So hopefully it's not as boring as I felt like the other ones have been. The first book I have going is an audiobook and it is Beyond the Shadows by Brent Weeks. It is the 3rd book in the Night Angels series. I'm not very far into it, and with it being a 3rd book, it's a little bit hard to tell you what it's about, but we are still following Kyler and him as a night angel, what that means and decisions he's making and things like that. I will say this morning I was 15% done. However, I have been listening to the book and now I'm about 25% done. The second book I'm reading is The Heartbreaker of Echo Pass. I'm obviously reading this on my Kindle and I am about 14% of the way through this. This is book 12 in the Gold Valley series and these books are interconnected standalone, so I've been just trying to slowly work my way through this series, but not all books are available on Kindle, not all books are available at my library, so I'm just trying to piece together the series slowly, and luckily, as I said, they are interconnected standalones. In this book, so far we are following Iris and she wants to start a bakery. The owner of the bakery is a newcomer to town, and so she ends up going to his house and bartering with him so that he will give her a chance to start this bakery. And with that, I'm 14% of the way through. The 3rd book I'm in the middle of is Paradise by Toni Morrison. It is the 3rd book in the Beloved trilogy. It is obviously a physical book. I rented it from my library. I don't love physical books, but I really wanted to finish up this trilogy. I couldn't rent it from my library digitally and I couldn't find the audiobook, so renting it physically was the next best option. This book is about Paradise. It's a small town in Oklahoma that people went to kind of escape chaos and tragedy and trauma, but it definitely found its way there and we are just unraveling all of the things that went on in this little small town. My 4th book I'm in the middle of is My Jesus by Ann Wilson. I have a clip of me reading it this morning that I'll put in now. I just finished chapter 9 in My Jesus by Ann Wilson. I'm reading 1 chapter a day with my quiet time each morning, which I'm really enjoying. As I said there, I've been reading 1 chapter a day in this, so it's taking me a while to get through. There's about 12 chapters, but I spend 10 to 15 minutes reading this each day and I'm really enjoying this. I would highly recommend. So far, I'm about 70% done. If you've had some tragedy in your life, I think she does a really good job of acknowledging the tragedy, but also acknowledging God's goodness, which I appreciate. The 5th book that I'm in the middle of is a gratitude journal. I found it on Goodreads and just thought I'd record it. I know it's going to take me longer than a year. It doesn't have page numbers, so I'm not exactly sure where I'm at. I started it January 1st. However, I've missed some dates. The 6th book is a book that I'm listening to and it is the Bible. It's going to take me all year. I have a Bible plan and I just listen to small bits of it each day. By the end of the year, I will have read it all, but that is a book that's just consistently going to be on my currently reading. But those are all my currently reading. I will update you as the day or week progresses. I love reading and I love sharing my reading. I'm just trying to find better ways to do it that aren't as boring because I feel like my normal weekly reads are pretty boring. It's Tuesday, so let's talk about the progress I've had on the books that I'm reading. First one is Beyond the Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is the 3rd book in the Night Angels trilogy and I am currently 35% of the way through. I am listening to it and it's very similar to the other books in the series. In relation to my thoughts, I have the same thoughts I've had in the other books where I like them. The women aspect isn't my favorite, but I understand why they're portrayed the way that they are. The 2nd book is Heartbreaker of Echo Hills, and I am currently on page 150, which is 45% of the way done in this ebook. This ebook does contain a novella that is part of this series, so I will be reading it, but it counts as a different book because of Goodreads and the way that it's all set up. 45% of the way done with this whole ebook. The 3rd book is Paradise. I'm about 60% of the way done with this book. I have the same thoughts as I've had with the other 2 books in the trilogy. Can you tell I'm trying to finish up series by the end of the month? I like this book. This isn't a type of book that I'd read over and over again, but I like challenging myself and reading books that aren't my favorite because I have found some of my favorites with books I thought weren't going to be my favorite. if that makes sense. But we are 60% of the way through. We're still uncovering the truths of this little town. My Jesus, I read one chapter yesterday, so I'm on chapter 10, and I am 81% of the way through this book. As I said, I just read one chapter a day, so I'm not making huge progress on that, but consistent progress. And this is how I finish books all in one day, because I'm slowly making progress on all the books. Obviously, these books are all very different, which because I have diverse taste in books, I can read multiple books at one time and be okay. I feel like when I've tried to read like 2 romances or 2 fantasies at one time, I can't do that very well. So I have to be very strategic on what books I'm going to read at the same time. But this is my Tuesday update. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of reading done today just because we have a lot to do. Listening to audiobooks, I'm drinking my coffee, I painted my nails, I got ready. This is why I love audiobooks so much though, is so I can do things in my life, and I only usually wear one at a time, especially when I'm home with, I have one child at home at the moment, and so I can hear her, I can talk to her, and I'm not being graded on my audiobook. So if I need to pause my audiobook, I can. If I need to go back, I can. Today is Thursday the 27th, and I ended up finishing 4 books yesterday. I will say I have one clip from yesterday finishing a book, and I'll insert that now. I just finished My Jesus by Ann Wilson. I'll talk about it later. It is Wednesday the 26th. I thought I would update you. I did finish a book. This week has been really weird and I haven't finished many books, which is not like me, but it is what it is. And the first book I finished makes me bawl at the end. There were a puppy situation and a beach situation that I just lost it. And I'm listening to her songs as I'm reading the book. So I did finish My Jesus by Ann Wilson. This was the book that I was just slowly reading with my Bible reading each day. I really enjoyed this book. I've had a lot of friends that have had loss. I've also experienced a loss. And so I think this book was just one of those perfect timing for me. I was able to encourage friends with it, but also comfort myself, because Anne does go through a tragic loss, but we see how God is with her and how he used that tragedy in her life. And I just really enjoyed this book. I liked reading it little chapters at a time. I felt like it was a lot more powerful that way. The second book I finished was Paradise by Toni Morrison. This is the 3rd book in the Beloved trilogy. I liked Beloved and Jazz. They definitely were not one of my top reads, but they weren't painful to get through. This book was painful to get through, Paradise. It centers around that small town in Oklahoma, and so we're getting the history of the town, but there are so many characters. There's not a main character because we're just going through the history. Many characters. I don't even know how many characters are in this book, and I just felt like it was really dragged out, and then the ending was just so fast. This book was definitely not my cup of tea. I really wanted to DNF it, but I really also wanted to finish the series. So I just kept reading and hoping it would get better, and it didn't. So I'm really sad about that book. So it is done. The series is done. The Ann Wilson book, I did give 5 stars, and this book I gave 2.5, but on Goodreads, I definitely put a 2. The 3rd book I finished yesterday was The Heartbreaker of Echo Hills by Maisey Yates. This is the 12th book in the Gold Valley series. We are following Iris. Iris has always been the shy one. However, she was also the oldest girl when there was a huge accident. Multiple parents passed away. The kids all banded together, and so Iris has always been there to kind of keep everyone together. She's realizing that everyone's moving on but her, so she's determined to open a bakery. But to open that bakery, she needs a store, and she finds out that Griffin is the owner. Griffin is living outside of town in this shack because he himself experienced tragedy. And so while I really related to Iris, I did not connect with their love story. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't connect with Griffin and Iris. I absolutely adored Iris though, and enjoyed her and her journey as she's working to open this bakery. You don't get to see a lot of it. I feel like she wanted to open it and then she opened it and it was successful. Like there wasn't a lot of challenges in that way because she was dealing with a lot relationally, because Griffin tells her at the beginning he doesn't want a relationship, and she's never been with anyone, and so she's okay with that. Like, let's just get some experience, and then, you know, it's a romance book. The 4th and final book was the novella at the end of that book, book 11.5 in the Gold Valley series. In this book, we are following Laz. Laz is the bartender. We got a little bit in this book 12. they say he has a wedding ring. He's just one of those side characters that kind of just being a bartender is there to give advice. In his story, we see that. He says he's always there for people but likes his alone time. However, his very best friend, who he might have a little crush on, he did not want to go to that wedding, but she ends up running out and coming to find Laz. The two of them have a lot to work through because Jordan, who is his best friend who ran out of her wedding, has a very tragic past. I wanted almost a full book for them, to be honest. I think that I would have absolutely loved their stories because they just have so much in their background that I would love to dissect a little bit more, which is what I don't always love about novellas because it's a little under 100 pages. I did end up giving this book 4 stars. So that leaves Beyond the Shadows by Brent Weeks. It's the 3rd book in the Night Angels series. I thought I found an audiobook, but it only did 70%. So now I need to eyeball read the last 30%, and the library loan just came in. Perfect timing. So I will be reading that probably sometime today. The other 2 we've talked about before is the Gratitude Journal and the Bible. I've just slowly been working my way through. I did start Play Along by Liz Tomford yesterday. I found it on audiobook, and it is the 4th book in the Windy City series. When I finished Beyond the Shadows, as much audiobook as I could, I jumped over to this. I'm really enjoying this book. I think I'm like 50 to 60% of the way through. We got a hint of Isaiah and Kennedy in the last books. We knew they got married in the last book, and so seeing how that all came about and seeing their history, I'm absolutely loving. I don't want it to stop, and I'm listening to it when I probably should be eyeball reading some other books. I did start another physical book, and that was Datings and Dragons by Kristy Boyce. This is the 2nd book in the Dungeons and Drama series. I will say I thought these were going to be connected, but they don't appear to be. They both have Dungeons and Dragons game as a central theme. However, in Dungeons and Drama, they play at the back of like a game store, and in this book, they are live streaming and it's a little bit more serious. I'm only 20% of the way through, and our female main character Quinn is new to the school, and so she has been offered a chance on this Dungeons and Dragons group. Logan is part of the group. He does not seem to like her, but this is a young adult romance, so we know what's coming. As I said, I'm only 20% of the way through, but I'm really enjoying that book as well so far. I will keep you updated. I'm hoping just to make progress on Beyond the Shadows and Play Along today, because my goal was just to read 20% in the Datings and Drama, because I need to finish 2 of these 3 books by next Monday, like Monday night, because I'm behind on my series goal for the month. So all 3 of these are the end of a series, at least so far. Today is Friday the 28th, and I just finished listening to Play Along. I absolutely loved that book. It was the 4th book in the Windy City series by Liz Tomford. I don't believe I talked about it a lot because I listened to it yesterday and today. I absolutely loved it. I'm very excited for the 5th book coming out. I'm not a huge Rio fan. During the epilogue, it made me a little bit excited to see his book. But right now I'm going to read 20% in Dating and Dragons because I'm trying to read 20% every day. That will get me finished at the end of the month, and we'll have another series off my list for now because this one just came out, so there's not a 3rd one that I know of. I feel like between my dogs and my children, I could never read like a couple pages without getting interrupted during the day. And that's why I transitioned a little bit more to audiobooks, just because during the day, those are a lot easier. It is Monday the 31st, so we're going to go over the 1 book I finished over the last couple days and give you updates on my other books. The last couple days have just been real busy. So the 1 book I finished was Hard Is Not the Same Thing as Bad, The Perspective Shift That Can Completely Change Your Motherhood by Abbie Halberstadt. This book was recommended by a friend to another friend, and I was there and I was like, that sounds really interesting. I want to check it out. And because I definitely have hard times with my kids, and I really enjoyed, it's a nonfiction Christian parenting book, and so it's very much that, but I really enjoyed the perspective that she gave with Christianity and parenting and being a mom. Her husband chimes in sometimes. It's an audiobook, so we got to hear his voice. I did like that part a lot. The examples were hit or miss for me. Sometimes I was like, is that all you're struggling with? How is that hard? But other examples were a little bit better for me. And she does explain at the beginning of the book that not all examples obviously are going to work for everyone. I think the thing that just consistently rubbed me the wrong way is her parenting or lifestyle choices, we'll say, and just promoting them instead of saying this is what works for our family. She was promoting certain things that don't make you a good parent or not a good parent. One that stuck out was homeschooling versus public school. I did end up giving it 4 stars because I generally like the perspectives in the book. So now we're gonna go over the 7 books that I have started. I don't know how I ended up with 7, but here we are. The first one is Mirror Mirror by Calonita. I am 83% done with this book. This is a twisted tale book where we are following Snow White. Instead of the evil queen poisoning Snow White, she ends up poisoning the prince. We also get a backstory on the evil queen, and it is her, instead of her stepmom, which I think is what's in the movie, it's her aunt. And so we get to see how she became the evil queen and like the choices she made and things like that, which I've been enjoying. The second book that I finished was Rev to the Max. It is the first book in the Reynolds Restoration series. I read one of the books a year or 2 ago, and so I've been trying to finish up series. This is by Melanie Moreland, and I'm only 25% of the way through, but so far we meet Max. He's a gruff shop worker that needs help, and so he puts a Craigslist ad out, and Charlene answers the ad, but says her name is Charlie, and so Max thinks Charlie is a boy versus her being a very spunky redhead lady. And Charlie is trying to leave a really, really bad situation, and so really needs this job. And so when she realizes that Max doesn't know she's a woman, she doesn't correct him until they meet up. And that's kind of where I'm at, is they've met up and they've realized each other is who they are. They did have a slight run-in the night before, but they didn't put 2 and 2 together. Why, I don't know, but it is a romance book, so I don't try to nitpick too bad. The next book is Jesus, the One and Only by Beth Moore. That has replaced my Jesus. I will say I've listened to the Bible every single day, but I haven't done a great job of reading a chapter in this book every day. So I think I'm only on chapter 2 or 3, and it has, I believe, like 23 chapters. So we're gonna be on this book for a while. The last book is Dating and Dragons. I am officially 80% of the way through. My goal is to finish it today, but that's next week's reading vlog. But I'm really enjoying this book. We figured out what happened with the friends. It's very real, very high school. 2 main characters, Quinn and Logan, are in a Dungeons and Dragons game, and the rule is you can't date within there, and so they're trying to figure it out. Quinn just figured out something that she feels like is repeating her last school, so I'm really curious what the last 20% in this book is going to bring, but you'll have to watch next week's reading vlog for a review on this book and my thoughts at the end. So far, I'm really enjoying it. It's a young adult romance, so if that's your thing, definitely check that out. The next book is Beyond the Shadows. It's the 3rd book in the Night Angel series. I've talked about it last Monday and we're talking about it now. I like this series. It's one of these fantasies that I like in smaller chunks. And this book is almost 700 pages, and so it's taking me so long to finish. I also was able to listen to part of it on audiobook, but I can't find the other part. And so I'm having to eyeball read the other ones, which makes it go a little bit slower. Last 2 books are books that are going to be in here all year, and that's that gratitude journal and the Bible. Again, I've been making slow progress on them every day, but the Bible will be done at the very end of the year, and the gratitude journal will probably go into 2026 just because I know I've missed some dates along the way. So that's the book I finished in the last couple of days and where I'm at with the other books. So we'll be starting week 13 today.